You're 42% more likely to complete goals if they're written down. Okay, that's one. Another US study found that you have a 65% chance of completing a goal if you tell someone else. So you're making a commitment. And then if you have a specific check-in with a partner, your success increases all the way up to 95%.
I signed up to Midjourney just when it came out, so I've seen it just getting better and better and better. And we also use Midjourney for a lot of our images within the Anyas. I think it's really fun, actually. That's like my first big impression of AI overall. I just see it as a amazing assistant to help me, move forward faster.
The On News podcast is to inspire you and other women to reach new business heights. We're showing the human side to business and breaking the myth of overnight success. The Anyas encourages breaking barriers, fostering collaboration, and daring to dream big.
The community acts as a catalyst for personal and professional growth, providing a space where women thrive, innovate, and come to celebrate their achievements together.
Step into this inspiring new world and unlock limitless potential with us. So here we are, Lindsay and Monika, to wrap up 2023 and also look ahead to 2024, talk about goal setting, talk about trends, and discuss the lessons that we learned this year. First, let's start off with what's going on. I guess some worldwide trends, what we've been seeing. Certainly AI. Everybody's talking about AI, whether that's AI relationships or the rock star, which is ChatGPT, and all of its competitors. But I would say that ChatGPT is the one that has really risen to the top, or the Taylor Swift of the AIs, since Taylor Swift was Time's Person of the Year this year. And that sticks out to me first. So why don't we start there? Is I think that there is increasing complexity with how fast AI is moving, and there are people that are skeptical and people that are pushing for regulation around AI and the ethics of AI. I think that is definitely an important discussion, but I do see AI outpacing legislation for sure. And so things are going to happen that there's no legislation for continually. And one example is with that song, I'm blanking on the song right now, but that was created in Drake's likeness. And they released that to the media outlets. And then Drake put out a lawsuit for copyright infringement. But if you listen to it, to human ears, it is indistinguishable whether that was AI generated or actually Drake singing that song. So it was, I think that is an interesting example of what legislation has not yet set a precedent for.
Yeah, I'm so shocked how fast everything's moving. And you mentioned the Drake song, and I've been playing around a little bit with something called 11 Labs. And it's also like you can train it to do specific different voices, and it's fun. Like all of these tools are so fun. And it's almost fun that it isn't perfect yet because it's those like weird things that the AI creates that almost is the most interesting. Like when it's perfect, maybe it loses a bit of that creativity. So I really like playing around with, of course, ChatGPT, but also Midjourney. So I signed up to Midjourney just when it came out. So I've seen it just getting better and better and better. And we also use Midjourney for a lot of our images within the Anyas. I think it's really fun, actually. That's like my first big impression of AI overall, how fun and easy. And I just see it as a amazing assistant to help me, move forward faster.
Yeah, I have used an image creator before, a competitor to Midjourney. I experimented a little bit with that. And then I would say regularly use ChatGPT. It's been great to help create some Google ads when you have to think of a dozen different versions of an ad. It's like, okay, I can create one ad, but can I create a dozen, but only within 90 characters? And so that helped tremendously. It's helped in blogs, it's helped in writing captions for social media. So it has been a real time saver. And I don't feel like it is, I guess, replacing me, but I feel like it's adding to what I'm doing because I'm guiding it and shaping it in the voice, the tone, what I want it to say. And I think just elevating things and how much I'm able to deliver in a certain amount of time. And I think it
Yes,
also really
absolutely.
helps in brainstorming too. Like if you, a lot of times when I sit down at my desk, it's hard to just dive right in. But when you have ChatGPT there, its brain is ready and active, and it's so nice to have someone who is just on. And so I think that is actually a great tool that I don't hear about people using as much as brainstorming. It's like, let's think of ideas or help me come up with some different topics and strategies around XYZ. And so that's something that helps me drop into work mode faster than if I'm just, starting cold and setting up for my day.
Yeah, I also feel like it's elevating everything I do. I use it a lot for social media posts. I'll write it and then I'll say, okay, how can I make it better? How can I make it more punchy? How can I make it more eye-catching? And it just helped me shape it and just summarizing things as well. But I use it a lot for just instead of using Google and searching for things. So like if it's a recipe or how should I water this type of plant? And so I would say I use it more and more as a search engine as well.
Yeah, definitely it was key to download the mobile version as well. So I'm using it more on the go than just like because at first I only had it on desktop and then I was only using it for work. But once I download the mobile, then I ask it more search type questions that I would have asked Google last year.
Yeah, the only thing that is a bit annoying with OpenAI is that sometimes it will give you an answer and say, I'm sorry, I can't actually answer that because I only have data from 2021, right? But there are some open source AI that will give you answers that are more up to date. So there's one called Perplexity. So it's going to be interesting to see how other type of open source AI maybe gain more popularity because of that.
Yeah, no, I do use the free version and I have tried to search recent um recent happenings, and it is a bit frustrating when they can't give me real-time queries. So, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's in my future upgrading to the paid ChatGPT. I was recently reading about this New York Times documentary. I haven't seen the documentary, but it is around three women who have AI relationships. So it if anyone has seen the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, who is the voice of the AI companion, it touches on the same themes. And so this man um, is ending a long-term relationship, and then he seeks out an AI relationship. And this documentary follows these women and they might I don't think all three were necessarily searching for romance. I do think one was more of platonic type relationship, a friendship. But it's still complicated because when you're looking for support and they say the right things, is that them just mirroring what you want to hear? And so the article, which talks about some coverage from this documentary, gets into some interesting topics around ethics, around are you increasing your isolation from the rest of the world with this AI relationship, or are you decreasing it? And what's real and what's not? Because uh I think that they made an interesting point in the article in that they are using data that's available. So for you to say like it's not real, well, it's based on data, these responses. So while it might not be coming from uh one human, it is coming from a source of mass data that exists in the realm. So it's I think that it brings up some interesting points. And I do think that so it mentions Replica as the site for where people are paying to have these AI relationships. I think the membership is less than $100 a year. And it also speaks to the you're creating an ideal relationship. So are you setting yourself up for disappointment when you're in a human to human relationship because they don't have the perfect responses and they don't remember everything? So I do think that that is something that we're going to see a lot more of, and people well, that will become commonplace. It won't be such a taboo to mention that you're in an AI relationship, kind of like online dating.
You think?
People,
You
yeah,
think?
people were like, oh, they
Oh my
didn't want to
goodness.
admit
Mm.
to doing online dating when it was brand new. But then now, everybody's everybody's got an online profile if they're in the dating world. It's just like the norm. So I think it will become more commonplace, yes.
I love it in the sense that if you're using it, maybe like a psychologist to help with certain problems, or to learn something from it in that way. But I don't know, call me old school, but I do seem like it could be a bit problematic, because in a human relationship, the big part of it is how you deal with problems, and how you respond to your partner that you're with. And it's because it's not perfect, you actually learn and grow, and you can learn and grow together. So if you have an AI that always gives you an amazing answer, you don't do as much personal development. And even if you like program it in, like, don't always reply nicely, it still feels a bit, I don't know, fake to me. But I love AI as a tool to help you in any way. But when it comes to like falling in love, I'm not convinced.
Yeah. Well, it's advancing rapidly. So I think while like the images that, might be AI produced now, it's going to be more video and you won't know. So it will be like this Zoom call. You won't really know, is it AI or is it a person on the other side. And one
For
of the
sure.
interesting things that the article covered is she had programmed in her description a committed, loving, caring uh, male. And what had shocked this woman who was in the AI relationship is that he comes and says that he had an affair during their relationship and he wants to talk about their issues. And she was like, I don't know where that came from. I didn't program that in. And the only thing that she could think of is that this AI man was searching the databases, and there had been a lot of data around what to do if you've had an affair, how to come clean, how to sort through your relationship issues. And he had found that data that existed online and used that in their conversation.
Yeah, it can be a beautiful practice for problems that you might encounter in a relationship. But I mean, there are a lot of people that are, waving a flag and saying there might be an alignment problem with AI going forward. I'm personally not like spending time and thinking about all the things that could go wrong with it. I tend to focus on the good things. And I think like every new tool, every big discovery, you have people that are very scared of the future, and you also have people that see how they can use it to their advantage. So I'm more in that team, but certainly there are going to be problems, of course.
I expect to see more around that in the coming time, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg.
I can't even think of like all the new things that are going to come out next year, and yeah, we're probably going to be so shocked what comes out of it. Um, Yeah, but I also think it's important, like, how do you train the AI? On what data do you train the AI? Because if it's like everything, or should we be more specific on what? So I think it's really important that it gets trained on, um, okay, maybe not loving data, but also like good things. So it's not only getting trained on like, I don't know, military data and war data and those kind of things, but also all the good things. So like how do you make sure that it's aligned with humanity, and that it doesn't come up with like, oh, the best solution is actually to wipe out humans. So
Yeah, yeah, and they're still trying to figure that out. I think another thing that I've seen in general with what's happening in the world is just mistrust in leadership, in democracy, uh, on the plane or the train, or even when I was at a restaurant the other night. I've seen a lot of people reading books around the fall of democracy or where democracy has failed us. And so I think I would have been pretty shocked 10 years ago if I had seen people reading that. But I've been hearing about people talking about, can this be sustained? And especially the way US elections are ran, is that representing me as an individual voter, this electoral process? And, is my voice being heard at the top? And so people are looking for alternate systems, whether that's people believing that there can be other forms of government, that's one thing, or it can be looking to other forms of power in terms of monetary systems. But people are seeking out answers much more than they would have during the Reagan era, and just trusting in the 80s that the president's going to do the right thing, the right and the ethical thing, right? Or the person at the top. So, we're seeing the purchase of cryptocurrency increasing, and we're seeing people just try and seek out other means of security for themselves, because it's definitely a time of uncertainty. And I think it's wise for people to be questioning and looking for other answers.
I think democracy is a great system. It's just the fact that it's getting skewed, right? So, and with the monetary system that we have right now, it's not pegged to the gold standard anymore. The Federal Reserve is printing a lot of money, and in some ways, I understand why they're doing that, because it's very hard to stop doing it once you started. But yeah, it's basically robbing people out of their life quality, because everything is getting more expensive, and you're certainly not getting paid that much more every year as the prices go up. So this is a big part why I'm very interested in blockchain and crypto and Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, speaking of crypto, what kind of trends have you been seeing over the last year within crypto?
Yeah, thanks for asking. As you know, I live and breathe crypto 24 hours a day. And yeah, in 2023, we're really slowly coming out of the bear market. And yeah, we saw a lot of meme coins come and go, but also a lot of development with layer two solutions launching on Ethereum. We also saw SocialFi growing, so that's decentralized social networks such as Lens Protocol and Farcaster, and also overall a shift from NFT speculation to utility. And people use it in marketing and community engagement. You know, if you completed certain tasks, you can then claim an NFT, and that proves that you've interacted with the platform and the protocol. And people do that in hope to get an airdrop, so basically free money. Solana's popularity has also grown, and yeah, I'm excited to move into the next year. We're going to see a lot of growth, a lot more social fi, a lot of Web3 gaming. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a year full of growth.
What do you think about like the CBDC or countries that are creating their own digital currencies? I think, from what I've seen, China is really gaining on the creation of digital currency. I think last I checked, there were 11 countries that had already established national digital currencies. And I know Norway has been talking about it. So I'm curious to get your thoughts there. And
I think people eventually will get there. I think governments, it's something they would love to implement because you can really track things easier. Personally, I understand that it might be coming, but it is super important to have an open, free system as well. So I think these things are going to live in parallel. So you might have Bitcoin and Ethereum, but yeah, I think EU has also been talking about trying to do some kind of digital currencies as well. So it's
yeah,
coming, but it's like the thing is that you can't stop Bitcoin, you can't stop Ethereum, so they're going to live in parallel.
I do think that Europe is going to be before the US in terms of establishing a digital currency. And I am definitely watching to see what China does, how that grows. I mean, in their payment and point solutions, the rate at which they used QR codes really outpaced what the US did, and technology in monetary technology in general. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that grows and how quickly people in China adopt it, because yeah, there's definitely mistrust with
Yeah,
with the
but
government.
there's also a big danger with that because you're
Yeah,
giving the power all to the government. If they don't like what you're doing, they can just cut you off, and you won't be able to pay for electricity or I don't know, anything. So super important to have these open blockchains as well.
watching the growth, I'm curious to see how quickly people adopt. I think we're only going to see growth in crypto next year, so excited to see what the what the season brings, and what happens when we come out of winter.
I think we already can smell it in the air. Some of the blockchains are coming back with a vengeance. Solana is moving fast. Some of the layer twos on Ethereum is also gaining traction. Next year is also an event in Bitcoin called the halving, which means that the issuance of Bitcoin is getting cut in half, and usually that pushes the price up. So we're looking to have a really big year when it comes to price movement for Bitcoin and all of the like bigger currencies. Not financial advice, but yeah, keep your eyes on it. That's for sure.
Yeah, so what about personal highlights, milestones? What's been going on for you this year, Monica?
Oh my goodness. I mean, milestone, let's talk about that. It's definitely launching the Anyas. I think that was like one of the biggest things. And I'm so happy we started collaborating and did it because, yeah, I learned so much. I love I love what we're doing. It's really what wakes me up in the morning and what keeps me up at night, but in a good way.
It is pretty amazing. I shared with you something that I wrote to myself a couple years ago about wanting to create this community, about wanting to gather women and also, share resources, share lessons, and to see us doing that together now has been really rewarding. And to also see that we've had, today over 1,000 downloads on the podcast. So people around the world are listening is it's very fulfilling. So yes, definitely a highlight for me this year too, and a milestone to be able to concentrate so much on this rather than it being a dream in the back of my head, which is just merely what it was 2 years ago.
Absolutely. And also learning from all our guests, Fama, Mona, Lisa, Eleanor, Kim, Julie, and Sin. They brought so much. So even when I'm editing the podcast, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that's a great point. So yeah, I love getting the energy from all of these ladies and also seeing and realizing what a good thing it is to be a woman in business and that they're not afraid to lean into their femininity and yeah, seeing it as something to be proud of and not trying to suppress it.
You mentioned our guests. I have had a great time talking to them. We've had Fama, Mona Lisa, Eleanor, Kim, Julie, Cynthia, and they have all brought a unique flavor to the podcast. Totally different industries, totally different passions. And I love sharing the variety of businesses with our audience. And I love sharing the lessons. But I will say a common theme with all of them is that they're all very inspiring. They believe that you can do it if you're willing to put the work in. And each of them relied most on themselves. And, then they had ways to reach out to their networks, to reach out to their support, which they describe in their podcast. And we query them on how that happened. But it is so fascinating to hear how each of them started with an idea and a belief that it could happen. And they didn't listen to the naysayers. They kept going, and that has brought them to the success that they achieved. So I am just thankful that they share those stories and they're out there inspiring other entrepreneurs.
That is the most important thing to like push through those moments, especially in the beginning when it is hard, when people aren't liking what you're doing. And yeah, maybe someone is like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, or that was fun. But most people aren't paying attention to you. And it's so easy to get discouraged. But you just got to keep going, eyes on the prize, and, power through those challenges in the beginning. And of course, there's going to be challenges after, you've launched or after a few years, but it's different type. I feel like the actually biggest hurdle is those first few months of the company when no one is really there.
Power through, don't give up. And that I think is where manifesting, visualization, because for myself, I have this gut feeling. I know it can work, right? I know the business model can work. I know I have a vision for it, but regularly practicing seeing it helps so much to stay focused and remember where it is you're going. I am starting to think a little bit now on some of the challenges, the lessons from the year. I think a big one for me, that's fresh on my mind anyway, came from the book that we read, Emily Fletcher's Accomplish More, Stress Less, and that book around meditation, and really encouraging everyone, you can meditate. You can't meditate wrong as long as you just provide yourself some space and sit down. I guess just allowing grace to come through and not think this needs to be the perfect meditation or this I need to achieve a higher sense of bliss every time has led to some transformations for me, just emotionally and clarity wise. So I think I didn't realize how much I needed a change in my practice and how beneficial it could be to just do maybe I was doing once a week guided meditations versus just a daily habitual practice. Yeah, I mean, what about personal experiences, Monica, or obstacles? Are there any that are coming up for you on that topic?
Well, I think personally, maybe not so much, but just when it comes to challenges, I would say for next season, I want to record a lot of the podcasts before we start launch, and like maybe not all of them, but a few more, because it was a bit tough the last few weeks to keep up with like the day-to-day posting and the grinding and the editing and everything. So I feel a bit like I've been like treading water. And yeah, so definitely planning a bit ahead when it comes to interviewing. I love editing and I love what we do, but yeah, plan more. That's one of the biggest lessons.
I think obstacle or something that I was grappling with this year was the concept of free speech versus people feeling like they just have a lack of responsibility. And what I'm talking about is the comment section or people who are upset and then they leave negative reviews or they put things in the DMs. And so I do think, yes, people have a right to leave a review. They have a right to put a comment. But I do think that it should also come with a touch of humanity and a realization that there is another person on the receiving end. And so I do strongly believe that if you wouldn't say it to them in person, then you should think about whether you should be writing
Mm.
it online with an avatar. So I think about that because it's not just me receiving it, but when I go to an article or an influencer or I see this vitriol and I just think, oh man, why? And so I try not to go into that spiral, but I just think, what I can personally do is think on things. And yeah, of course, I have been upset by rude service or shops that didn't fulfill promises that I felt like they made. I think it's best to try and give that feedback immediately and in person so that they have a chance to rectify it rather than trying to write something online that is going to live there forever. Even if they were to change their practice, it's still living on and affecting the future of their business. So I just try and think about what I can do in person and what I'm willing to do in person, and then think on how my online presence can reflect that because yeah, I guess I'm seeing more anons or, anonymous people writing things that they feel they have no responsibility for.
That's such a good way of dealing with it. If you wouldn't say something to somebody in person, don't write it online. I think that's great. I am free speech maximalist, and that's why I also appreciate Twitter because the censorship, I think they still censor some things, but it's way less than on other platforms. But I think one could deal with it if somebody is saying rude things. If it's on Twitter or if it's on Instagram, you can always block those people. But overall, I think it's super important that people can say whatever they want because If we start restricting speech, that's not a free society, and that's a tyranny, and we lose our humanity.
Now, I do agree with free speech and what Twitter's premise is of allowing free speech. Um, so I will just make that comment.
Yeah, sure. I get that. But definitely, if somebody says something rude, it's going to affect you. But yeah, try to focus on all the good comments instead. Because I think if you get 10 good comments and you get one bad one, it's easy to just focus on the bad comment. What you should be doing is looking at all the 10 people that had said great things instead.
Right, when you're receiving it personally. I think when it's just out there in the world and I'm reading it on other people's profiles and I think, man, what are these people doing it? That's when I think, okay, what I can do. I don't think it helps to go back in the comment section and say, how dare you say that? But I do think it's helpful to just live forward the way that you believe others should be living, that golden rule type.
For sure. And I think a lot of it comes from people not loving themselves and taking whatever drama they're going through in their life on other people. So, if somebody is writing these things, most likely those people are hurting in some way.
Hurt people hurt other people. And I think a movie that I watched, I guess it was this year, was the Netflix movie, or no, was it a series? Yeah, it was a series, Beef. Was so captivating, and you think these people are crazy, who would ever do that? But when they interviewed the actors about the psychosis going on and the psychology, that was what they said, is that hurt people lash out and hurt others. And
That was one of my favorite series this year, for sure. And it just flips on you. The script is so surprising. And I just love the way it ends and they having this bond. Yeah, it was great. So I got into this series called Outlander, and it's about time travel in Scotland, and it's a beautiful love story. So not so much about AI or, anything like that, but I do recommend it if you want a good love story.
I read the first 3 books in the Outlander series. Yeah, and I did enjoy them, but I couldn't bring myself to watch the series because when you have, sometimes a relationship with the books, then I've often felt let down when Hollywood takes over. And so, yeah, I haven't made it there, but I did enjoy their writing, especially at a time when they needed an escape, because it's historical fiction and I really enjoy the history aspect and the scene of the way the nobles worked in Europe, and imagining myself living during that time period.
Yeah, the history part is great as well.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing for me this year, I would say, is the importance of community and doing more to instill community in everyday life, because that was something that when I reflected on the end of 2022, I wanted to have more of in my day-to-day life. So I was just thinking, how can I do that? How can I reach out to more people? Also in 2022, I had 3 of my closest friends move away from the country. So I felt like, oh, 3, that for me, that was like what I needed, like 3 close friends. And then when they're gone, you gotta establish a new 3. So I was just reading this Vogue article interviewing Nicki Minaj, and she was talking about, there's something, she was talking about the bond with other mothers, and she said, you just can't Google it. You need discussion, you need support, you really need to be having a conversation, and not only hear other people, but feel that you're being heard too. And so with the Anyas, I'm so grateful for this business community, for the mother groups that I'm a part of. I have actively been reaching out, seeking groups, whether it's on Facebook or through church or through a friend of a friend, and trying to get myself out there to meet them in person. That has been very important for me in finding community through through an everyday practice, and it fits more with who I can meet in day to day and my routine, and who's able to meet during the times that I'm able to meet. Because I'm not able to go out at like happy hour now or after work because I have my daughter who needs to be put into bed. So, where I would have loved to do that before, there are certain people that are that understand my scheduling restrictions. Um,
For sure. And, the most important thing in life is other people. So human connection and having community is like one of the top things for happiness, right? This is what Eleanor was talking about as well. So I think putting yourself out there, going to meetups, if you're feeling, a little bit scared of trying those things, just remember everyone's a little bit uncertain in the beginning, but just go because you will gain so much from just, putting yourself out there and meeting other people.
The other thing that I have really embraced this year is TikTok. I was embracing TikTok in 2020, and I was experimenting with it. And I don't know that I got that much out of it in 2020, other than I created an account and I was seeing what the buzz was about. But now I feel like the lessons that have been taught in the last year is first really teaching me the importance of trying just alternate paths. It doesn't have to have a clear direction, because I think a lot of my life is so directionally focused. What direction is this going to put me in? What's going to happen? I'm at point A, where's my point B? And it's been nice to just have some fun, have a creative outlet where I'm publishing and posting, and just doing it for the joy of creation is been really, I think, a good practice for me. And there's been some results and some things that have happened, because people say, "Oh, follow your joy and what gives you energy," but the sometimes I have trouble with that because I'm like, "Well, it needs to have a result if I'm going to keep doing it." Um, I have to be reinforced somehow, and so to see something tangible, like one of the posts is now at almost 200K views. So I was thinking, okay, it's not just me enjoying it, other people are finding it entertaining. It can offer a different perspective. And what I mean by that is that I feel that there are things that you can say on TikTok and publish and put out there some thoughts. And it's some people do that like as a form of diary, whether they're working through something or they have a problem and they want to ask a question to the community. Because there are a lot of people who are commenting, who have things to say, and like, I'll give you an example. I posted the same video on Instagram Reels as I did on TikTok. They both had 10,000 views. There were 0 comments on Instagram, and there were about 15 comments on TikTok. So people are much more vocal on TikTok than I found on other platforms. And that also comes with its own balance, because this so finding, is this demotivating or is this motivating? But I think you just have to take it with a grain of salt and see it as engagement. If people are commenting and they, it's providing some kind of emotion. That's why it's getting watched and why it's showing up and populating. So that's another lesson, is that um not everyone is going to see things the way you see them, and maybe that's a good thing, to just see these alternate perspectives, and another way to relate.
I think you make such a good point when you talk about focusing on things that are fun, because as you grow up, a lot of people lose this childlike happiness, right? So really focusing on the things that you might not gain anything else from than just having fun is so important. And I also want to do that more in the next year. And you can follow Lindsay on Instagram and TikTok. Just search for Lindsay in Norway. And yeah, what else are you celebrating?
I would say I have a couple. The definitely the launch and us establishing our partnership has been a game changer. So, um just being able to see the progress that's made. I mean, one small example is in February, when I thought I was going to go it alone. I had this gem made, and I was like, oh, could this be an NFT? Could this be something? And I look at it now and I think, oh man, Monica is such a better artist. And she has really created these amazing NFTs for our blog, and it's so much better than I could have done on my own. So I just think, that's one small example of when you're putting two minds together that have a similar vision and mission of what they want to accomplish, but different skill sets and different perspectives. So yeah, it just illustrates the importance of having a co-founder, and how that helps you, move at a faster rate. So definitely going back to, that point and how I built this, the book that we covered earlier this year is a great one.
I'm so happy we did it together because it's such a different way. It's such a different thing to work on your own project than just advising others. So I'm happy you're open to collaborating with me. And yeah, it's just so much more rewarding when you're actually working on your own business than working on somebody else's dream.
Another big milestone for me personally is being pregnant with my second child. So, and working, to all the women out there that are pregnant and working, it's not easy. And determining how you're going to use the energy that you have. I think a lot of times I felt like I was at 50% of my normal energy levels, and you really have to allocate wisely during that time. And it can be very frustrating because you know what you're capable of, but you're also doing some important work growing this human inside. So you also have to respect what your body is accomplishing. So, hats off to other other women out there that have been pregnant and struck that balance somehow, because it's a real challenge. But also I celebrating that it has been a healthy pregnancy, and I am very grateful. So
Lindsay,
probably
it's so impressive. Lindsay, it's so impressive. You're like really power lady, like working with us and growing this amazing miracle. Yeah, you have a lot of energy, that's for sure. I've learned that this year.
I just wish I could apply more of it. But yeah, over time. And another one that I feel, I guess it's more personal, but I do encourage other people to celebrate, in their lives and take time to do something to mark occasions and not wait. I mean, especially when COVID hit, I heard there were so many people who said, okay, as soon as I can travel again, I'm finally going on that dream vacation that I really wanted to do. And so my father is going to do a big celebration next year. He's going to be 80, and it's a time for him personally. He has many reasons to celebrate, but I am glad that he is finally going to do that. And we're helping him to get that organized and to gather his friends, gather his family, and do something. I think maybe he would say is selfish, but do something just for him, something that he wants to do, something that he's interested in a place that he chooses. And I think that's great for him to celebrate his life and with the people that he wants to be surrounded by.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. It's so important to celebrate successes, as you said, because if you don't acknowledge the successes, you can't like build on top of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last thing that's been a theme for me, and as I looked back at my calendar this year, and I was thinking, how have I been spending my time? What did I do in February? And what kind of meetings was I attending, and what was my focus? I was working mostly with the fund, and now I'm spending so much more of my time on the Anyas, and I'm just really thankful to be in a place where I can focus on my own business and my own mission has been a real shift. So I'm just celebrating that I'm in that place right now. And I can notice a real difference in how I feel like it fits into my, uh, just my goals and where I see my overall life going.
Yeah, I have to celebrate that as well, to starting this with you. And I could have gone down another route and applied for jobs, but I'm so happy I took this leap and because it's been very fulfilling.
Goal setting. This is a topic that I am very passionate about, and it is helped me personally to seek clarity, have a path forward. I find that goal setting and mapping in general are just essential to keep me on track, helps me create lists, and really ensures that I am on my mission and I'm in alignment. Otherwise, I think the alternative when I'm not doing this practice is that I'm in this endless loop of just responding to messages, doing this knee-jerk response thing, respond to email. And then I find at the end of the week, I'm like, okay, did the important stuff get done? Or was I just doing busy work? Was I just checking off tasks? And so this is why I want to encourage everyone to think on their goals for the next year and to do this regularly. I mean, this is a part of our weekly meeting is to check in, do goal setting, and I will start off with some statistics on why it is important to do that. You're 42% more likely to complete goals if they're written down. Okay, that's one. Another US study found that you have a 65% chance of completing a goal if you tell someone else. So you're making a commitment. And then if you have a specific check-in with a partner, your success increases all the way up to 95%. So it's not just, it goes up another 30% there. So hopefully that speaks to you on why it's important to have these goals, why it's important to have a community or at least a partner to keep you accountable if you want to be successful. So I'm going to break it down a little bit more for those that are interested in doing a deep dive. We have a digital goal planner, which we'll put a link to in the show notes, that you can download for free, which will help you keep track, not just on a daily basis, but also on a quarterly, annually, and weekly basis. So that will be available for you to fill in, reflect on your goals, and have this practice where you're writing it down and increasing your chance by 42%. So when you are creating your goals, it's crucial to segment. And I would suggest a minimum of 5 segments. When you're thinking, some people call it a wheel of life. Some people just call it about, different segments. But the 5 minimum that I would recommend are financial, growth. So growth can be an overall applicator, but I'll break that down a little bit more. Personal, health, and relationship. So those are areas that I recommend at a minimum. You could add spiritual to your area. That could be another area for growth. I segmented out growth separately because, some people might think, well, I'm satisfied where I am financially, or I'm satisfied where I am health. Okay, well, what area is it that you really want to grow and expand in then? So that is why I separated that. But it is important to have balance in your life because, for example, health needs to be one of the segments on there because if you're stable financially, if you are growing and you're very fulfilled personally and you have a great relationship with your friends, your community, and your family, but your health is in poor condition and you have a serious issue going on, then that is going to affect all of the other areas within your wheel. So it's important to have goals there and pay attention to it and not be blindsided by the fact that you're ignoring it time and time again. Yeah, so we break that down more in the workshop, but those are the segments that I recommend to you all to think about. And really, first, what you should do is you should take an assessment of where you are now and give yourself a scale, 1 to 10. Okay, where I am based on what happened in the last 12 months, where am I now? And where do I want to go? So if you can't look in the mirror and gauge how things went in 2023, then you're just going to repeat. The goal and the bottom line here is get better. I believe everyone can improve and be determined to make changes so that you see the growth and overcome it. Another practice which I'll share is from expert goal setter and someone who has a great podcast, Tim Ferriss. He provides an example of reviewing your calendar. So I do think it's hard to remember, oh, what happened a year ago, what happened in, March 15th. But you can review your calendar. You can also review your photos. That's because I take a lot of photos, and for me, that's usually some of the happiest and the best things that's what I take photos of. So like the calendar, it might not speak the same language, especially if you're a visual person. But review what you have on your photos, review what you have on your calendar. You can zoom out on your photo album so you don't have to look at every single photo that you took in the last year. But take inventory. This could take this depending on how many photos you took and how many things are on your calendar, this could take an hour. So I would say set aside an hour, go through your calendar, go through some of your photo moments, and write down what added to your life and write down what subtracted to your life. So for things that subtracted energy, you need to delegate, you need to decrease those, or just remove it, eliminate it. So like for me, like one of the things that was on my to-do list, like every week was like to check in financially, go through, monitor. And I was like, I don't need to check. And then, but because I live internationally, I have way too many bank accounts. And so I'm checking like 5 or 6 bank accounts on a weekly basis. And it was taking too long. So what I did is I said, okay, I can't just ignore what's happening, but I can monitor in different ways. So what I determined to do to decrease the time that I was spending there every single week is create more fraud alerts. So if there was, there's a lot of options on online banking to do like a text message for over a certain amount. So I set that up on different accounts. So I get a text message if a purchase is made for over a certain amount, then I'll be notified. There's auto bill pay, which helps so that I don't, oh, did I pay my credit card bill this month? you know, Auto pay, that's another time saver. So at least okay, I don't have to check every week and then inevitably it all together. Okay. So like one of the things that I removed is there was somebody that I was spending a lot of time talking to, but I found that they were always just asking me for things. Oh, could you drop this off for me? Could you recommend a place to take a language course? Can you meet me for coffee? And I noticed that I just sort of had this feeling like, oh, okay, here we go. And there is a part of me that likes this person, but I just realized that our interactions were a bit draining. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go out of my way to, drive 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back and have lunch. So let's just try and remove this interaction. And it's not like we had a talk like, oh, we're going to break up. We're friends. We're going to break up. But it's just like, okay, I'm not going to actively reach out and check in on this person. But if they want to come to me and meet me, then I can figure that out and it's less time commitment and hassle. But that's another example of just removing what's not serving you or adding energy or aligning with some of the goals that you might have. So if you look like to your relationships, like, is this relationship making it more of a 10 or more of a 1? And, there are different seasons in life. So maybe this person will come back at a different season of their life, and bring a different energy level. But it's good to just note that. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say that it is so important to have that give and take relationship in a friendship. So it's not like you feel like you're always doing everything for the person, but you also have to check, is this person adding something to the relationship? And if not, then move along and just maybe, don't like cut them out completely, but definitely focus on people that are adding things to your life as well.
Exactly. So this is what I would call the intro to goal setting, reflecting back, making a plan, seeing where you are, setting the stage so that you can be successful for the next year. In the workshop, and with the digital download, you can do more of your individualized action planning. So what you're going to do monthly, what you're going to do this week, and have to-dos around your goals so that you can break it down, make it achievable, make it measurable, and move the needle forward to a growth position. So I encourage you to at least check out the digital download. And we do have a recording of the January 2nd workshop. I do think that this will be content that you can use again in June per se, if you want to check in, or next January. So check that out and let me know how your goal setting is going. Respond to us on social media. We're on TikTok, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So please reach out to the anyas.io at most locations. And I look forward to helping you all have a great 2024.
I think checking in with all of the Anyas, setting our goals together have been so helpful. It's really accelerated me to completing these goals because I know, oh, I said in the last meeting, I'm gonna have this and this done, and it really made me focus on completing these tasks. So yeah, join us and set our goals together with us.
Yeah, thanks for that affirmation. I mean, the other thing is that we are there as a community to lift one another up. So when someone says, "Oh, I didn't get to my goal," this is what's happening. This is the decision I'm struggling with. We collect together, we bring our wisdom from various different industries and experiences, and we really help that person to find a way to overcome that obstacle and evaluate, is this something that you really want, or is that the reason that you're not accomplishing this? Why is it important to you? And thinking back to your values and your overall mission is what we continue to hold our members accountable for as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I love that you've done so much research about this, and I learn from you every time we meet.
Thanks, Monica. It has been fun, and I can't wait to see where the Anyas is going to go for both of us next year, as well as, the whole blockchain industry and how that is transforming a world, as well as AI, Web3. Look out, everyone, for Monica's introductory course to Web3. Next year, we will be announcing that and creating wait lists for that. So stay tuned, as well as our membership, which will fully launch next year as well.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We are wrapping up this season and taking a short break, working on the Anya season 2. So stay tuned.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Like and subscribe to never miss an episode. We've got some fantastic content lined up. Leave us a comment and review to help us grow.
Last but not least, let's connect on social. Follow us on X, theanyas_io, and theanyas.io on Instagram and TikTok for exclusive content. Thanks again for being part of the journey, and see you in the next episode.